Hello, everyone. Welcome back to working on the WordPress project. Last time we finished getting started with your websites, we got them set up, played around with the themes a bit in the customization menu, figured out how to create a new page. So now we are going to get into editing pages and actually adding content to your site. So the first page that we're going to work on will be the About page. I'm planning to have a couple of videos on this for this week, and then we will move on to the resume page and probably have some videos for that next week. So let's get started. So I've logged into WordPress and I've gone to my Sites menu. You'll notice here that I am now signed in as myself and am on my own website that I've created in order to give you an example um, of what yours could look like and be able to walk you through adding everything that you're going to need to add that I can add it to my page. So I've got my site up here. I'm in my sites menu. I've gone to site and pages. And right now I've got a really simple site at the moment with just home and about. So I'm going to go to my about page, and just like we did in the last video, we've got the page created here, but we haven't added any content to it yet. Your reflection essay, um, if you haven't turned it in yet, you'll want to get that in as soon as possible. Should give you some starting point, some potential material for your about page. So I've gone ahead and added to Schoology my own example essay that I wrote up quickly yesterday, um, so that I could, have something similar to work off of. So I'm going to pull that up. We also want to think about how is this about page going to be different from your essay? What do you need to have on an about page? How could we organize this? What kind of content do we want to get on there? So I've started a page here to give you some suggestions for how you could organize your about page. I'd like you to have at least 3 paragraphs. So that's not a suggestion, that would be a requirement. You could certainly have more, but a good minimum target is at least 3 paragraphs. Now, what you put in those paragraphs, how you organize the page, that could differ. You don't have to go by these exact guidelines, but I did want to give you some suggestions that might help you think about, well, what do I need to write for this? So the first paragraph, right, you are introducing yourself. This is your about page, this is your landing page, the home page of your website that's about you. And so in the very first paragraph, you want to introduce yourself, right? So this paragraph should be introducing you as a professional right now. And your current circumstances, maybe you don't think of yourself as a professional. Maybe you're a first year college student and you're not even entirely positive what it is you do want to do with your degree after you graduate. That's okay, but you want to present yourself well to a potential employer, right? So you want to sound like you've got a plan, a sense of direction, some ideas of what it is that you're working toward right now. So in order to make that introduction, at the very least, you're probably going to want to have your name, major, the university you attend, because remember that somebody who's looking at this doesn't necessarily know you at all, right? And probably something about your goals. And these would be professional goals. So that's where, if you don't really feel like you've got a very strong sense of what it is that you want to do, you might have to finesse that a little bit so that you can sound very sort of confident and organized and like you've got a plan ahead, even if you really don't, right? You want to Fake it until you make it, as they say. I'm going to go ahead and make this a hanging indent. The other thing about this first paragraph is that you're going to maybe find it helpful to think of this as the present, right? Where you're at right now, introducing what your circumstances are, that kind of thing. Okay, so then for paragraph 2, this one is going to be oriented toward your past. And so this is where particularly your material from your personal reflection is going to be useful, right? And so this is where you want background. What has shaped your professional goals? So you could end up having more than one paragraph about this, but you don't necessarily have to, right? You shouldn't take your entire 4 paragraphs from your personal reflection and just copy and paste them into your about page. But certainly some of that material, could be in a paragraph or a little over a paragraph, maybe even a couple of paragraphs, giving that background. And then paragraph 3, a helpful way of thinking about that might be future oriented. So we started with present, we talked about the past and background a little bit. You mentioned your goals in paragraph 1. Now you want to try to describe your plans for achieving those goals. And here again, maybe you don't have a lot of plans yet. Well, you want to try to sound like you do, right? You might describe how in the summer after your junior year, you're planning to apply for an internship at this kind of business or in this kind of profession, even if you don't actually know if you're going to do that. So you might have to think about this a little bit. How do I want to present myself with my goals, my future, what I want to do, and try to be as specific as possible for how you think you can achieve that. Right. You might also mention some courses that you plan to take toward the end of your undergraduate career. So as you get to be a junior and senior, and you're taking more courses in your major, and you start taking upper level coursework, what kinds of courses are you planning to take, and maybe describe 1 or 2 of those. So that might be a good way of presenting your game plan, moving forward, and how you plan to achieve your goals. So that even if you don't have much of a plan, you can look at the course catalog and course descriptions and maybe try to get some ideas of what can I say in paragraph 3. All right, so now that I have some kind of structure in mind, I want to go ahead and start adding some of this to my About page. So I'm going to get back into WordPress. I'm already in edit mode on my About page here. And so I could just start typing, right? And I think for our purposes, for giving an example and walking you through some of this, I think I'm going to pretend to be maybe an upper level undergraduate. I don't have very much good memory about what all I did in high school and leading up to early on in college, but I think I can still remember enough of toward the end of my undergraduate that I could talk about that. So I'm going to try to write some of this on the fly, and then I may have to just edit out a little bit of for time's sake so that I can get some content on here without you having to wait until I think of everything, as I'm trying to type it here. Actually, it occurs to me here that our plan to include name might be redundant at this point, right? Because the website is my name. So I've got major, I've got university, and now I want to give some sense of professional goals. While I've been applying to graduate programs in English literature, I've also been working on campus at the Technology Enhanced Learning Center and as a peer writing tutor at the Writer Studio. At the TEL Center, I work with faculty and graduate students to help them with the learning management system and other technology such as Adobe Photoshop and Acrobat. I also maintain the English department website. Okay, so I've got a first paragraph. I could add some stuff to that, but that's a good start. So I've got my current, or what was my current many, many years ago. So now I'm going to go with the background, right? And so this is where I want to pull up my reflection essay and see about using some of that in my about page. Okay, so looking at my reflection, I think that maybe some part of my middle two paragraphs would work particularly well. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of it in there, and then I can edit from there. So I've copied it. Now let me get to WordPress so I can paste it in. So notice WordPress has changed it to the current formatting it uses. And actually this formatting is just what it looks like in edit mode, because the theme that I use is going to affect how this actually looks on the page. And if you want to see what that looks like, I mean, we could preview. And see here, I've got a different font style to what is in edit mode because of Pen Scratch 2, the theme that I'm using. So back into edit mode, I've got my couple of paragraphs here that pasted together as one paragraph. And I'm going to work on adapting these to fit with my about page, right? So I finished talking about working at the Writer's Studio as a tutor, and that fits well with getting into talking about the training to become a tutor. So I'm going to go ahead and change this in order to become a tutor last year. Let's say I took a class that involved both Writing Center theory and practice. Each tutor in training, I'll just say each tutor worked with a tutee throughout the semester and completed a case study on that experience. Okay, so here I've got some details about Dr. Caldwell that I don't want as part of my about page, right? They were important details for my reflection, but the about page is about me. I wrote observations and reflections for each tutoring session, which helped me become a reflective practitioner. That was the term Dr. Caldwell used. Okay, so I want to take out the mention of Dr. Caldwell again. She designed the course, learning to be a writing tutor. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and cut these few sentences here. Okay, so let's see what I've got for this paragraph now. In order to become a tutor last year, I took a class that involved both Writing Center theory and practice. Each tutor worked with a tutee throughout the semester and completed a case study on that experience. I wrote observations and reflections for each tutoring session, which helped me become a reflective practitioner. Learning to be a writing tutor helped me develop as a writer and eventually as a teacher. Not only did I have to think about how I worked with students, but also about my own writing. I had to examine what had worked for me as a writer and determine if that could work well for someone else, or if I'd have to help them find a different approach that would work better for them and their particular writing task. That process helped me identify what didn't work for me, what could work better, and what alternative approaches I could come up with for new writing tasks. I'm going to need something to kind of wrap up that paragraph. Maybe a now. Now I am looking forward. Okay, I think that's good. I think that gets us our second paragraph. So now third paragraph is the future-oriented one, right? And I've already included some bits about goals in the first paragraph. So now I want to try to expand on that and to get into how I plan to achieve those. So I'll start this paragraph with something like, in anticipation of graduate school in just over a year, I'm looking to increase my work on campus. Okay, so let's see what I've got in the last paragraph now. In anticipation of graduate school in just over a year, I think I'm going to make that graduate studies. Studies. In anticipation of graduate studies in just over a year, I'm looking to increase my work on campus. I'm already beginning a senior honors essay. Actually, it's a senior honors thesis. I should fix that. I'm already beginning a senior honors thesis on Shakespeare's The Tempest and Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus. Before the end of this school year, I will be starting to work as a research assistant for some of the English department faculty while I continue at both the Tell Center and the Writer's Studio. I have work lined up for Professor Rob Hughes and Professor Liz Weiser, and Professor Stephanie Brown is currently planning to send me to Brown University over the spring break to assist with her research as well. I say professor a lot in there, so I think I'm just going to remove all the professors. I have work lined up for Rob Hughes and Liz Weiser, and Stephanie Brown is currently planning to send me to Brown University to assist with her research as well. Okay, so I could try to add a sentence on there to kind of wrap it up. I think for a draft at least, this is pretty good. I mean, I think instead of trying to come up with something right now, I've got a pretty solid 3 paragraphs to work with so far. So I've got some of my content. I want to go ahead and remember to update so that I save the progress, the work that I've done. And then when this pop-up says view page, this doesn't stay here very long. But when it does come up, I like to go ahead and click view page to see what this looks like. And here it is. And this is on my website, right? So I've got my URL about up there for how this would be on the internet. Now I'll need to add my about page to my menu, which we talked about in the previous video, the getting started part 2. So I'll have to make sure that I do that. For our next session, I'm going to work on getting some images on here, and we'll start talking about what kind of images we need to look for and how to find them, how to get those added to the page, and to start thinking about layout, how we want the text to look in relationship to the images, right? Do we want it to wrap around? Do we want to have something on the left, on the right? So we'll need to start thinking about those things and really concentrating on design and not just writing text. So we will pick it up here in the next video.